There is a pattern that nobody talks about in church. Not openly, anyway. It goes like this: you fall, you cry, you go back to God, you feel His presence. You rise, you get strong. You feel good. Then slowly, quietly, without you even noticing, you drift again. You fall again. You cry again. And the cycle repeats. Zion Marshall knew this pattern better than she knew her own name. Sunday morning Zion was something to see. She was 19 years old, a sophomore at Greystone University, with deep brown skin, natural hair she usually wore in a big puff on top of her head, and eyes that held a quiet intelligence behind them. She sang in the campus ministry worship team. She could quote psalms from memory. She prayed before every exam, every meal, every difficult conversation. On Sunday mornings, when the worship music swelled and the presence of God filled the room, Zion felt it in her chest like a warm fire. She would lift her hands, close her eyes, and mean every single word she sang. You are my strength. You are my refuge. I surrender all to you. And she meant it. In that moment, she genuinely meant it. Pastor Daniels would preach, and Zion would take notes in her Bible app, underlining verses, writing down conviction points, whispering, "Yes, Lord," under her breath. She would leave church feeling clean, feeling settled, feeling like the person God created her to be. But by Tuesday, something had usually shifted. By Tuesday night, the warmth from Sunday had cooled just enough for other things to creep in. Her phone would buzz. "Hey, you busy?" It was always Darius. Darius Holt was 21, tall, smooth-talking, and exactly the kind of man that looks like a blessing but functions like a distraction. He was not a bad person, that was the complicated part. He was funny. He remembered small things about Zion. He made her feel seen in a way that sometimes felt more tangible than prayer. They had been doing this for 8 months. This thing that had no clean label. They were not officially together. Darius had been clear about that from the beginning. I'm not in a place for titles right now, Z, but you know how I feel about you. And Zion, who had grown up in church, who knew better, who had written "Guard your heart" in her journal no less than 14 times, had said okay, because okay was easier than the alternative, because okay meant he would not leave. And somewhere underneath all her worship songs and Bible verses and Sunday morning fire, Zion was afraid of being left. So Tuesday nights she would go to his dorm. They would watch movies. They would talk for hours. And she would cross lines she had promised God she would not cross. Then drive home at midnight feeling hollow, feeling like she had handed something precious to someone who did not know its value. She would sit in her car in the campus parking lot, forehead against the steering wheel, and whisper, "God, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." And she meant that too. Part 3. The Book of Judges. Zion's Old Testament professor, Dr. Amara Cola Sharp, quiet woman who wore glasses, too big for her face, and had a gift for making ancient texts feel immediate, spent 3 weeks on the Book of Judges that semester. What is the cycle of Judges? Dr. Cole asked the class one Wednesday morning. A student in the front row answered dutifully, Israel sins. God allows consequences. Israel cries out. God sends a deliverer. Israel is restored. Then Israel sins again. Correct, Dr. Cole said. She wrote it on the board in neat letters. Sin, consequence, cry out, deliverance, restoration, sin again. Then she turned around and looked at the class over her oversized glasses. Now, I want you to be honest with yourself this morning. Not with me. Not with your neighbor. With yourself. She paused. How many of you are living in this exact cycle right now? Not ancient Israel, you. The room was quiet. Zion stared at the board and felt the words rearrange themselves in her mind until they were no longer about a nation in the desert thousands of years ago. They were about her. She sins. Every Tuesday night she crossed the line. Consequence. She felt empty, disconnected from God. Her prayers felt like they were hitting the ceiling. Cries out. Sunday morning, forehead on the steering wheel, God, I'm sorry. Deliverance. She would feel God's grace pull her back. The fire would return. Restoration. Sunday worship. Notes in her Bible app. Yes, Lord. Sin again. Her phone would buzz. Hey, you busy? She had been living in the Book of Judges and did not even know it. Dr. Cole continued, her voice soft but certain. The problem with the Israelites was not that they were evil people. Read the text carefully. They were people who genuinely loved God in the moments they were paying attention to God. Their problem was that they never dealt with the root. They kept crying out for deliverance without ever asking God to change the thing inside them that kept returning to bondage. She tapped the board. You can be delivered 100 times, but until you address the root, the fear, the wound, the habit, the belief system that keeps pulling you back, you will repeat this cycle until it exhausts you. Zion wrote that down. Then she stared at it. Until it exhausts you. She was exhausted. Part 4. What was really happening? That night, alone in her dorm room, Zion did something she had not done in a long time. She did not put on worship music first. She did not light a candle or open her Bible to a comforting psalm. She just sat on her bed in the silence and asked, "God, a hard question. What is the root?" She sat with it, and slowly, like sediment rising to the surface of still water, the answer began to take shape. It was not Darius, really. Darius was a symptom. The root went further back. To her father, who had left when she was 11, who had promised he would call and then gone quiet, who had made her feel, at 11 years old, that love was something that required her to be small enough, easy enough, undemanding enough to keep. And she had carried that belief unconsciously, faithfully into every relationship since. With Darius she had accepted no title because she believed that asking for more would make him leave. She had crossed lines she did not want to cross because she believed that her value to him was physical, and if she removed that, there would be nothing left for him to stay for. She had been performing for love, and the devastating thing, the thing that made her press her face into her pillow and cry the deep, quiet kind of tears, was that she had been doing the same thing with God, performing worship, performing repentance, showing up on Sunday to feel the fire, then drifting the moment the warmth faded, never sitting with God long enough to be truly known, never being honest enough to say, "I am doing this because I am afraid. I am broken in a specific place, and I have never let you touch it." She had been cycling through religion the same way she cycled through Darius, getting close, pulling back, getting close, pulling back, never fully surrendering, never fully leaving the conversation she had been avoiding. Zion called her mother the next morning. Vanessa. Marshall was a woman who had raised 2 children alone after her husband left, who worked as a registered nurse, who still found time to lead the women's Bible study at her church every Thursday. She was not a perfect woman, but she was a praying one. "Baby," her mother said when she answered, because she always knew when something was wrong. Zion told her everything. Not the edited version she usually gave, everything. Darius, the Tuesday nights, the cycle, what Dr. Cole had said, the prayer the night before. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Zion, can I tell you something I have never told you? Yes, when your father left, I did the same thing. Not with a man I stayed single for years, but with God. I would get close to him when things were hard, then get comfortable and drift when things got easier. I thought that was just normal Christian life. Hot and cold, up and down. I thought everybody lived like that." She paused. It was not until my pastor told me about the spirit of Gideon that I understood something. "What do you mean?" In Judges, Gideon was hiding in a wine press, threshing wheat, when the angel of the Lord appeared to him. And the angel called him a mighty man of valor. You know what Gideon said? Zion thought. He said, "If God is with us, why has all this happened to us?" That's right. He was full of doubt, full of fear, hiding, but God did not call him what he was. God called him what he made him to be. Her mother's voice was steady. "Baby, the cycle does not break because you get stronger. It breaks because you finally let God into the part of you that keeps running back to the wrong things. The wound, the fear, the lie you believe about yourself." Zion was crying now. "Your father leaving was not your fault," her mother said simply, "and you do not have to make yourself small for anyone to stay. Not Darius, not anybody." The hardest text she ever sent. That evening, Zion picked up her phone. She stared at Darius's name for a long time. She thought about how it felt to be wanted by him, even in an incomplete way. She thought about the loneliness that would follow. She thought about the fact that she had told herself she would end this 6 different times and had not. She typed and deleted 4 different messages. Finally, she typed the truth. Darius, I care about you, but I have been accepting less than I deserve because I was afraid of losing you. I can't keep doing that. I'm working on some things in my life and in my walk with God, and I can't do that work while we're doing this. I wish you well. I really do. She sent it before she could change her mind. Then she put the phone face down on her desk, opened her Bible to Judges chapter 2, and read the cycle written in black and white about a nation that loved God and kept forgetting Him, and she read it not with judgment but with recognition. That was me. Then she flipped to Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Pattern, the word landed on her. The cycle was a pattern, and patterns did not break by accident. They broke by decision, by honesty, by the willingness to sit in the discomfort of the root instead of reaching for the familiar thing that temporarily eased the pain. Part 7. What breaking the cycle actually looked like. Nobody tells you that breaking the cycle is not a dramatic moment. There is no lightning, no audible voice, no feeling of chains physically falling off your wrists. For Zion, breaking the cycle looked like this. It looked like Thursday morning, waking up and not reaching for her phone first, opening a devotional instead, sitting with God in the quiet before the noise of the day rushed in. It looked like telling her campus ministry leader the truth, not the polished version, the real one, and asking to be held accountable. It looked like going to the campus counseling center and booking an appointment to talk about her father, about the wound she had been carrying since she was 11 years old and had been medicating with the wrong prescriptions. It looked like Sunday worship that was not performance, standing with her hands raised and instead of singing the words on autopilot, actually meaning them, actually saying to God, I am not here because I feel like it. I am here because I need you in the places I have been hiding. It looked like Monday being hard and choosing God anyway. It looked like Darius texting back, I respect that. Take care of yourself, Z, and feeling the ache of it, and sitting with the ache instead of running from it. It looked like Wednesday in Dr. Cole's class, when the professor asked the class what it would take to break the cycle of Judges, and Zion raised her hand for the first time all semester. Honesty, she said, with God and with yourself, because the Israelites kept crying out to God, but they never told him the real thing. They said we have sinned, but they never said this is why we keep sinning. This is the wound. This is the fear. This is the lie we believe. Real repentance is not just saying sorry. It is letting God into the root. Dr. Cole looked at her over those oversized glasses for a long moment. That, she said quietly, is one of the best answers I have heard in 20 years of teaching this text. 6 months later, Zion was not perfect. She still had weeks where her quiet time slipped, where she skipped 2 days of prayer and could feel the distance growing, where the loneliness showed up at night and whispered that she had made a mistake. But something was different now. The cycle had not disappeared, but it had shortened, because now when she drifted, she caught it faster, because now she knew the warning signs, the way prayer started to feel. Like a task instead of a conversation, the way she started numbing herself with noise instead of sitting in the silence. And when she felt those signs, instead of waiting until she had fallen far enough to cry out from the bottom, she turned around sooner. She had started journaling, really journaling, not just writing prayer requests, but writing the honest, ugly, complicated things that lived underneath. She met with a Christian counselor once a week. She was part of a small women's group at her campus ministry where they asked each other hard questions and told each other the truth. She was not in a relationship, and for the first time in as long as she could remember, that did not feel like a wound. It felt like space where God was doing something slow and important. She still sang on the worship team, but it was different now. When she lifted her hands on Sunday morning, it was not the peak of a cycle that would crash by Tuesday. It was one moment in an ongoing conversation, one exhale in a continuous breath. One afternoon in early spring, Zion sat on the steps outside the campus chapel with her Bible open to the book of Judges, and the Lord said to Gideon, "The people are still too many. Take them down to the water, and I will test them for you there." Judges 7:4. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Romans 12:2. The cycle does not break because you become stronger. It breaks because you finally become honest,